So let's say you bought this really cool math Monopoly game, or really just anything that can be very interactive for your students, or something that you want your students to work on in groups. So if you bought a game like this and you want your kids to play together, you can actually go ahead and make groups for them on Google Classroom. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how you can have groups of students play this Monopoly game, or really just work together in a group on one document within Google Classroom. So once you go over to your Google Classroom and go under classwork, whatever you have set up will be here. We have our student data tracker, so students can track their test scores. We have our digital math notebook, which is basically just anchor charts digitally, and it has just links and references to different math things for the students. And we have it set up by days of the week for digital learning, so they can just go through and finish all the tasks in order. So let's just say that we want them to do some group work on Tuesday. So we're going to go up to create, and we're going to make this an assignment. And before we do that, actually, we need to go back to our document. So making groups in Google Classroom, it can be a little bit tedious, but it's worth it in the end. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to rename this, and I'm going just to add group 1 to the end of it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy. So think about how many groups you want per class. So if you're in middle school and you maybe teach 7 or 8 classes, you're going to have to do this 7 or 8 times, just so they each have their own personal document. So I'm going to make a copy of the entire presentation, and I'm going to call it group 2. And I'm going to put it in the same place, and it's going to go ahead and open. And I'm going to keep doing that. So let's just say we have 3 groups. So I'm going to make a copy of the entire presentation again, and at the end I'm going to put it as group 3. And they're all going to open up maybe a little bit slow because there's a lot of slides. But you can see that we now have slides for group 1, which I'm going to make this go back to how it originally was. And we have slides for group 2, or I'm sorry, this one's group 3, and then group 2 is over here. So going back to Google Classroom, I want to assign this group work. So I'm just going to say Monopoly. I am a really bad speller, but Monopoly group 1. And you can write whatever instructions you want. And again, this is going to be for Tuesday, so I'm going to put it under the Tuesday topic. If you do grades or weighted grades, maybe this is just a participation grade, and you can do whatever with the points. Now here comes the actual group stuff. So if you're doing 4 students to a group, it really depends on how many students you have and how many groups you're going to have. But if I actually had students enrolled in this class, you would see a list of all the students' names going down the side. So to make groups, all you're going to do is you're going to just you're going to uncheck the all students box, which I can't because I don't actually have any students. But you're going to uncheck it, and then you're only going to check the students' names that you want in group 1. So that way when they log onto Google Classroom, they will see that they are doing Monopoly group 1, and it will only show for the students that you selected. Okay, so again, make sure to uncheck all students and only select the students you want. And then you would click assign. Okay, so here's a different Google Classroom that I do have a few students assigned to. So again, this is going to be group 2. So if I wanted certain students in group 2, I would click the drop down menu. I would uncheck all students, so that means no students are checked off, and then I would only select the students that I wanted to be in this group or to work on this one document. So then I'm going to click Google Drive, and I want to make sure that I'm selecting Monopoly Group 2. So I'm going to kind of hover over each one. or maybe I'm just going to select one. I got lucky and I selected group 2, thankfully. But you want to make sure you want to change the permissions. So if you select students can view the file, that means they can only look at it. They can't make any changes. They can't do any drag and dropping. If you make a copy for each student, that means each student is going to have a different copy, and only you and that individual student has permission to view and edit the document. So you want to do that for individual assignments. But since we're doing groups, you want to say students can edit. So that means they will both, the 2 students I selected, will both have access to this one document. So that means if they are both in it at the same time and one person drags and drops something and then another person can move something, they can both see it. And so again, you can change slides on your own, and basically you can play the Monopoly game and answer questions while playing with someone. So you don't necessarily have to touch the same computer as the other child or anything like that. So I know with the pandemic, you have to think of creative ways to do group work if you're teaching in person. But even teaching virtually, if you do breakout groups, you can have these children break out into their groups and play together and really just have a fun and great time. So again, I just want to kind of reiterate, all you're doing is you're just selecting the certain students that you want for group 2. So like I said, you would have to go through and make a copy for each group, and this would just be period 1 or whatever class period. So you even might want to add period 1 to the end of the document or the beginning of the document so you know. And so again, if you have 8 groups and 8 class periods, you're doing that a lot, but again, you're just making a copy of a game and just changing the title just a little bit. So it's really not that much work. The most work will just come from checking off what students you want for each group. If you have any questions, be sure to drop your comments down below and I'll be happy to answer them. And please give this video a thumbs up as well as a subscribe for more EdTech tips. And I will link a copy of this Monopoly math game down below. It's in our TPT store. Please give it a look over and check out what else we have to offer. Thank you.